Welcome to the Pure Experts AI Weekly Wrap-Up, covering the biggest news for the week ending December 21st, 2025. We're heading into the final stretch of the year, and it seems the AI industry has saved some of its most seismic shifts for last. The ground is definitely moving. We're seeing record-breaking capital, major policy shifts from Washington, and partnerships that are completely redrawing the ethical map. So, let's start with the money, because the numbers this week are just staggering. Databricks just closed a $10 billion funding round. Let's just let that sink in. $10 billion in a single round. I mean, that's more than the GDP of dozens of countries. This is the largest venture round of 2024, and it rocketed their valuation to $62 billion. From a long-term investment perspective, this is a classic Berkshire Hathaway-style play. It's a bet on the picks and shovels of the AI gold rush. Databricks provides the data lakehouse platform, that core infrastructure that every company needs to manage the massive datasets that fuel their AI models. So they're not selling the gold, they're selling the essential equipment to all the miners. But a $62 billion valuation, is that sustainable? It feels like we're in nosebleed territory, even for the AI boom. It's a hefty price, no doubt, but you have to look at what it buys them. This isn't just for R&D. They've signaled the funds are for acquisitions, for global expansion, and for providing liquidity to employees and early investors ahead of a potential IPO next year. In my view, it's a strategic move to build an unbreachable economic moat around their business before they hit the public markets. A moat filled with $10 billion. That'll do it. Okay, let's pivot from big money to big government. The White House made a decisive and controversial move on AI regulation this week. It did, and it's something you've been investigating. So, on December 11th, the Trump administration issued a new executive order aimed at creating a single, national policy for artificial intelligence. The stated goal is to avoid a fragmented patchwork of state-level laws. But the mechanism here is what's really striking. The order establishes a new AI litigation task force to actively challenge state AI laws in court, and it gives the federal government the power to withhold grant money from states that enact what it calls onerous and excessive regulations. You know, from a purely business and market perspective, a lot of CEOs will be breathing a sigh of relief. The idea of navigating 50 different and potentially conflicting compliance regimes for AI, it's a nightmare. It creates uncertainty and drives up costs. A single federal standard brings clarity, and you know, markets love clarity. I understand that argument for simplicity, but my question is, who truly benefits from that kind of simplicity? Critics are saying this is the culmination of a massive lobbying effort by big tech. They're concerned this will be used to invalidate stronger consumer protections that states like California or New York have been working on. Rules around mandatory bias audits, transparency, public accountability. So, is this move about fostering innovation, or is it about letting the industry write its own rules on a national scale? That is the multi-trillion-dollar question. If the federal standard is too weak and it leads to a major AI failure, the public trust could just evaporate, and that would be disastrous for the industry in the long run. It's a high-stakes balancing act. A balancing act that now involves the Pentagon. The other bombshell this week was the partnership announced between OpenAI and the defense tech firm Anduril. This one is huge. Anduril is going to be integrating OpenAI's most advanced models directly into its hardware for what they're calling national security missions. The first public application is for counter-drone systems, using AI to identify and track threats. This is a major turning point for OpenAI. It marks a complete reversal from their earlier mission statements and policies, which explicitly forbade using their tech for weapons and injury. Now, they're framing this as a defensive application, a way to protect personnel. But it's a fine line. It puts their tech squarely on the battlefield. When they talk about responsible deployment, what does that actually mean when lives are on the line? It feels like we're taking a massive step down a very slippery slope. From a cold, hard business perspective, the logic is undeniable. The global defense market is a massive, stable, and recession-proof source of revenue. This opens an entirely new and lucrative frontier for OpenAI. And for Anduril, it gives them access to a best-in-class AI brain, a huge advantage over legacy defense contractors. It's a powerful, and as you said, very controversial alliance. And this theme of practical, high-stakes application is everywhere. We also saw two major acquisitions finalized this week. MasterCard closed its $2.65 billion purchase of Recorded Future, an AI-powered threat intelligence company. A perfect example of a smart, strategic buy. MasterCard isn't acquiring a chatbot for fun. They are buying a specific AI capability to solve a very expensive problem: cybersecurity and financial fraud. We also saw database company MongoDB acquire Voyage AI, a specialist in making AI models more accurate and trustworthy, to fight that whole problem of AI hallucinations. So it's all about embedding AI to solve real-world business issues. Exactly. And on that note, Google made waves with the official release of Gemini 2.0. The headline feature they're pushing is agentic capabilities. This is the next evolution of AI. It's the shift from a tool that answers questions to an agent that takes action. I mean, it's the difference between asking, "What's the best flight to Chicago?" and saying, "Book me the best flight to Chicago." It can now perform multi-step tasks on your behalf, which sounds incredibly powerful, but it also opens a Pandora's box of privacy, security, and trust. It does, giving an AI the autonomy to take action, to access your email, your calendar, your accounts. That requires a level of trust we haven't even had to consider before. You're absolutely right. And that trust will be the next great battlefield for all of these companies. It's been an incredible week. We have unprecedented funding, a regulatory showdown, an AI pioneer marching into the defense sector, and AIs that can now act on their own. It feels like 2026 is going to be a wild ride. It certainly sets a dramatic stage. And that brings us to our final thought for our listeners. This week, we saw a major push for a single, national standard for AI regulation, clashing with the state-led approach to build stronger, more specific consumer protections. It's a fundamental debate about how to govern a technology this powerful. So, now, here's a question we'd like you to think about. As we build the rules for our AI-powered future, should we model them on the internet, which grew with a light federal touch that prioritized innovation and free commerce? Or should we model them on aviation, with strict, centralized safety standards from the very beginning, where the top priority is preventing disaster? Where do you think the balance should lie? That's all the time we have for this week. For Andy, I'm Clarissa. Join us next time for the Pure Expertz AI Weekly Wrap-Up.